Today, we're diving into a future that isn't science fiction anymore. We're talking about a world where algorithms go to war. Not on some futuristic battlefield, but in digital courtrooms right now.
It's a crazy question, right? Sounds like something straight out of a movie. But this is fast becoming one of the most pressing legal questions of our time. We're about to see what happens when the law literally moves from human hands into the cloud. I want you to imagine something. In the time it took you to scroll through your phone this morning, thousands of lawsuits were filed, litigated, and settled, and not a single human being even knew it was happening. This isn't some dystopian fantasy, it's the chaotic reality of high-frequency litigation we are building as we speak. Okay, so let's get into it. Before we can understand where this is all headed, we have to look at how AI is already completely changing the legal world. Moving from just a helpful assistant to a real decision maker.
The idea of a robot judge isn't just a fantasy anymore. In a lot of ways, it's already here. AI is already deeply woven into our legal system. For instance, predictive analytics, it's being used to comb through mountains of old cases to predict how a new one will turn out, and it's surprisingly accurate. You've got China's smart courts where AI actually helps human judges write out their decisions. And get this, we've seen AIs like Case Cruncher Alpha actually beat human lawyers at predicting the outcome of financial cases. And now, there's even an AI arbitrator that handles small construction disputes. So yeah, the digital judge is already on the bench.
So where does this all lead? Well, the next big leap isn't just about AI that knows stuff, it's about AI that does stuff. We're talking about moving beyond the generative AI you've been hearing about, the kind that just creates content, to something way, way more powerful, agentic AI. So, what on earth is agentic AI? Well, unlike a simple chatbot that just gives you answers, an agentic system can take a big, complex goal, break it down into a bunch of smaller steps, and then, and this is the key, act on its own to get it done. It doesn't just answer your questions, it actually plans, it acts, and it checks its own work, all with very little help from a human.
Okay, so how does this work in the real world? Imagine telling an AI agent, hey, manage all of my company's supply contracts. The AI immediately breaks that down. Step 1, monitor compliance. Step 2, find any breaches. Step 3, execute the remedies. It then picks its tools, maybe scanning thousands of contracts for violations. And here is the absolute game changer. It can take autonomous action. If it finds a tiny breach in a contract, it can automatically file a complaint and demand a settlement all on its own. This is where AI stops being just a tool and becomes a true legal actor.
But all this incredible speed, this amazing power to act on its own, well, it comes with some huge risks. I mean, what happens when these incredibly powerful systems are built on a shaky, flawed foundation? We have to talk about the ghost in the machine, algorithmic bias.
This quote from a recent study really just nails the problem. See, AI doesn't just invent bias out of thin air. It learns it from us. It learns from our bias data, our imperfect models, and our own hidden prejudices. And then it magnifies those flaws with a terrifying, unstoppable efficiency.
And this slide right here shows you exactly why algorithmic bias is so much scarier than regular old human bias. Look, a biased human judge is a huge problem, but it's a problem for the cases that they personally see. A biased algorithm, that's a problem for every single case it touches. Human bias can be inconsistent, it can be random, but algorithmic bias is systematic, it's scalable, and it's hardwired right into the code, making the same biased decision millions of times without ever getting tired or having second thoughts.
And this isn't just theory. We've already seen this cause real-world harm. Hiring AIs have literally ranked female candidates lower just because their resumes use different words than the ones from successful men in the training data. Or the infamous Compass algorithm used in the U.S. justice system. It was twice as likely to incorrectly label black defendants as high risk for reoffending. And the worst part? A lot of the time, we can't even figure out why the AI made the decision it did. It's what we call the black box problem. The AI's logic is so complicated, even the people who built it can't fully explain it.
So if we can't fully trust the machine to be fair, and we can't always understand how it thinks, then how are we supposed to govern it? This brings us to the most important part of this whole conversation. How do we make sure there's still a human verdict in this new age of automated justice?
The most promising idea right now isn't to replace lawyers, but to augment them. It's a model called augmented lawyering. Basically, we let the AI do what it's great at, chewing through massive amounts of data, spotting patterns, doing the repetitive stuff. And that frees up the human lawyers to focus on what we do best. Using ethical judgment, understanding the subtle human parts of a case, and making the final strategic call. The AI gives us the data, the human provides the wisdom.
And regulators are finally starting to wake up to this. We're seeing frameworks like the EU's AI Act move from just vague suggestions to actual enforceable rules. They're trying to build a new social contract for AI, and it's based on 3 main pillars. First up is fairness, requiring mandatory audits to check for bias before an AI is even let loose. Second is transparency. This is about pushing for explainable AI, or XAI, which is the direct solution to that black box problem. It's tech designed so we can actually look under the hood and challenge a decision. And third, and maybe most important, is accountability. This means making sure there is always a human in the loop, because the ultimate responsibility for justice has to stay with us.
Which brings us to our final big question. We are in a flat-out race to build AI that is as fast, as consistent, and as efficient as possible. But justice isn't always efficient. It's messy, it's full of nuance, it's deeply, deeply human. So as we start to hand over the scales of justice to these algorithms, we have to stop and ask ourselves, can a system that's designed for pure calculation ever truly be programmed for justice? The case is still wide open.